evening, listeners, and welcome to episode 48 of the LAZOR podcast, the weekly-ish show where we comb through random episodes of classic TV with a fine-tooth laser. I'm the Siege. What are your hosts?
And
Along with
I'm
my
NeoCal.
And this, for the video viewers, is my bullshit hairstyle.
That's right.
If anyone is wondering what I'm referring to there, recently someone on YouTube was so gracious enough to say, what the fuck, lol, is with this bullshit hairstyle with the one on the right. The one on the right. Not even my name, which I say in the show.
Repeatedly.
Yeah.
It's an enemy using an anonymous account.
An enemy of the state.
Yeah, an enemy. They figured out those underwater menaces have figured out how to use computers.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
This week on the LAZOR podcast, we are, we were supposed to be continuing on with our education-themed month in the month of September. That didn't really work out for a myriad of reasons. I had a major health issue. It was serious, but I'm better now, so that's all good. I also moved and have been settling into my new place, and my work schedule is kind of grueling now because of a very terrible public transit system in the very terribly designed city that I live in.
What? What are you talking about?
City I'm living in now is Nanaimo, British Columbia, and let me tell you, it's a thing. It's less said about it, the better.
Yeah, it's a thing. Infamous for Nanaimo bars.
Infamous for Nanaimo bars.
That's right. Infamous.
Yeah, infamous.
Loud and proud.
Cole McGrath is like skating around on power lines eating Nanaimo bars.
And he's like, wow, I've never tasted diabetes in one bite before, but this is it.
Yeah, folks, I'm sure you've probably heard of Nanaimo bars. Nanaimo bars do indeed hail from Nanaimo, British Columbia, which is actually my hometown. No longer living in Victoria, which is where I'd been living for the past 8 years. And,
you don't feel like a local is what you're saying.
Not anymore. No. I don't really feel like a Nanaimo person anymore.
All it took was you moving back there to...
All it took was me moving back to realize just how much I actually did like living in Victoria, despite what I thought at the time. But, lesson learned. Maybe someday I'll be back.
Someday.
But not today, no.
But yeah, what's with this this bullshit education month?
So that's done because, we were supposed to watch Captain Planet and the Planeteers. I even bought the episode on iTunes. But, September's over, and previously what we've done is we've kind of just extended continued the theme into the following month. I didn't want to do that this time. And the reason why I didn't want to do that this time is because it is October, and I wanted to do a horror-themed month.
Oh, yeah, I love Captain Planet.
We'll definitely
yeah.
We'll definitely cover Captain Planet.
Oh, that just
again
because, yeah, we reference it so much, and it's definitely going to show up on the LAZOR podcast. But September just we were listening to "Wake Me Up When September Comes" on repeat too much, and then September ended.
Yep. Wake me up when September ends. See, I'd put that song at the end of this episode, but YouTube's copyright cops would probably physically hunt me down.
Physically hunt you down, yeah.
October, it's spooky month. So I wanted to do
Spooktober time, baby.
Spooktober. So I wanted to do an entire month's worth of episodes dedicated to horror TV shows. So that's what we're gonna do. Um, before we get into that though, I wanted to. This is a nostalgic based podcast. Usually, not always. Sometimes we end up watching newer things or things that we haven't seen before.
Yeah.
Usually stuff that's been recommended to us by Patreon subscribers over at patreon.com/lazorcom. Um, but in general, we tend to do a lot of nostalgia based podcasting, and
Let us know.
especially 90s nostalgia because that's when we grew up, and 90s nostalgia is kind of in right now. It kind of it blew me away probably about a year or so ago. I was at a Red Robin eating a burger with someone, and I looked outside, and over on the grassy area, there were a bunch of teenagers just chilling out. And I shit you not, they looked like characters from Mallrats, a 1995 film. Like they were dressed like exactly like 1995, like young person fashion. And I'm like, I know
Oh, like baggy jeans with
baggy jeans,
distressed baggy jeans. Yeah.
uh, plain or branded T-shirt with button-up shirt over top of it, that sort of thing. So, and I know that I've always been told that fashion is cyclical. Usually around like it goes on like a 20-ish year cycle.
That's what
But
they say.
that's what they
But
say.
now
But
we're finally old enough to witness it.
yeah, now we're finally old enough to witness it, and it's kind of wild to see stuff that how I remember people dressing when I was a kid. All of a sudden, kids are dressing like that now again.
Remember that random plain clothes undercover like Fear Factory enjoyer we met at McDonald's?
Oh, yeah. So, listeners, we were Cal was gracious enough to drive up island from the land of better places, Victoria,
Uphill, both ways, in the snow.
to help me move. And we before we actually like went to pick up the moving truck, we bombed down the highway to McDonald's to grab something to eat, and I was wearing the shirt that I am now, which is the Fear Factory demanufacture shirt. And this dude just all of a sudden starts talking to me about Fear Factory and
Catching
shows,
a concert
catching a
and yeah.
concert, and we ended up talking about industrial and whatnot. Yeah, it was kind of interesting. But where I was going with this is I'm sure some at some time on mic. I know me and Cal have talked about this at some point before, but kind of wondering what 2000s nostalgia is going to look like.
Yeah, if you go back like a year, we had maybe longer. We had brought up, man, like what the heck is 2000s nostalgia gonna look like? We
Right?
tried to think of like the music and what do we got? We got like new metal hitting hard, emo becoming mainstream, um what's it called? Metrosexual movement.
Oh yeah, yeah.
um Fuck, those are just the things that pop out at me. Yeah.
Portable MP3 players,
Oh shit, right.
flip phones.
2000s with the
uh,
full keyboard.
yeah, texting with T9.
I kind of miss my like, and it had haptic feedback, so like you'd hear it click. Like, kind of miss mine. Yeah.
Yeah, I miss tactile keyboards like the ones on Blackberries, honestly.
Oh, my PS3 like attachment, like it went clipped over top and like went underneath and like was part of the
Oh,
controller.
right, right.
The
Xbox
Xbox one went
360.
underneath.
It
The
went underneath,
PS3
yeah.
one went above.
Yeah. I had the one for the 360. Didn't work very well.
I had both of them. The PS3 one went on the top,
Yeah.
so it made it a little more awkward, but your thumbs are already like this, so I guess that kind of worked, but it felt so good. It was so good. The Xbox One, was smooth and aligned with the controller really well and didn't inconvenience your hands at all. But it was a little
The
chonk.
it was awkward. The buttons were a little too clicky for my liking.
Yes, that I was trying to think of what word to describe it. And I'm like, yeah, just little, you really had to chonk them down. Yeah. But the PS3 when it was so, ugh, I have both. Like they're in a
Bill,
drawer over there. Yeah. Should go grab them.
uh, the what inspired me to talk about 2000s nostalgia again was well, we learned the sad news recently that a man named Coolio has sailed off into that great
That,
big gangsta's paradise in the sky. He's
yeah.
gone on a fantastic voyage to the great big gangsta's paradise in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I was like, I need to mark the occasion somehow by like I don't know, like watching a movie that Coolio was in. And the only one that I had on hand was the director's cut of the 2003 Daredevil film starring Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner. And anyone who knows me at all knows that I'm a huge Daredevil fan.
Uh-huh.
And that movie does not have the greatest reputation.
No.
In all fairness, the director's cut is better than the theatrical cut, and I've seen the theatrical cut in theaters back in 2000. It came out in like February 2003, which
Better.
which
I guess 4 out of 10 is better than 2 out of 10.
right. Pretty much. So Coolio only in the director's cut, Coolio has a role as a person who was being wrongfully accused of like burglary or something, and Matt Murdock and
Right.
Foggy represent him. Now, when I was watching that movie, was transported back to the early 2000s.
You
Very
don't
much so.
say.
Um,
I don't think there's a time that's more dated than
so
early 2000s.
Ben Affleck, his hairstyle, he had Neo's hairstyle from The Matrix. He was
Everybody
wearing
did.
he was wearing the shades that Neo wore, except they were tinted red because in
Right, they're the same shape.
the same
Right.
exact same shape. When shortly after Matt first encounters Election, of course, Cal has a pair of them.
I've had these for 25 years.
It's such a bizarre choice too, because
They're
in the
not angled. They need to be a little rounder and angled,
it was such a
right?
bizarre choice too, because in the comics, Matt Murdock does wear glasses because he's blind,
Yeah.
and they're tinted red, but they're circular. They're like Aussie shades.
Yeah. They're round.
Yeah, like so. Why not just do that? I mean, those were in at that time
And
too.
I was going to say those are Morpheus.
Yeah.
Wait, yeah, why?
Yeah, those kind of shades were definitely in at the time. Morpheus was wearing them. They were in the movie Wild Wild West. They wore shades like that.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
yeah,
Will
yeah,
Smith rocked them. Yeah.
yeah. It was a weird choice in terms of Matt Murdock's glasses. But so when Matt Murdock first encounters Elektra, uh, first off, like she says, her name is Elektra Nachios, and Foggy, as played by Jon Favreau, which is kind of wild to think about now. But Foggy, as played by Jon Favreau, makes the gem of a comment that her name sounds like a spicy salsa dish. And it's Greek. It's a Greek name. It is actually a name. Both of those are actually names. And then
Wow.
after she shoots down Matt Murdock, he chases her down, and they proceed to have a fight for
A
some
sexy
reason.
fight.
A sexy fight in a random playground, and the fight is straight up Matrix fighting, like come on, stop trying to hit me and hit me, like that kind of fighting.
R- Right. It's been a while, but because like he doesn't really want to hurt her.
And it's just like the fight choreography is straight up like The Matrix and like doing like movie kung fu.
One thing about our like the Lasercomb podcasts is we're like the perfect age to be acutely aware of how much the Matrix influence like the coming 5 years,
Yeah.
the coming 8, 10 years. Um, but only in hindsight is it obvious how much not just it influenced, but things are just straight up ripped from it.
Yeah.
And then it was suddenly stopped. It's like 2010 hit, and everyone forgot about the Matrix. It wasn't cool. It was only cool for like 10 years. Not even like 6 years.
Yeah, yeah. Like by like 2005 or 2006 or so, like everybody, like Hollywood had
They
already
were done with
forgotten about
it.
The Matrix.
Yeah. But for 5 years, hot shit, man.
And there's a bunch of random montages of characters like training, like in the rain with like fucking Evanescence and drowning pool and playing. And
And
I'm just,
again, the music is to blame. The new metal, emo, you get movies that were, it's worse every time I see it. Underworld.
yeah. I didn't
There
even
is
like
a
that movie at
movie.
the time.
I didn't like that movie at the time, but it is so much worse every time I revisit it. I, my God, if you ever watch a movie and you're like, oh, the chemistry between these two characters, their romance is unbelievable. Fuck. Like, go and watch Kate Blanchett. Is that am I remembering that right? Who's the actress in Underworld?
Keep thinking Kate Bishop, but it's like, no, that's a character from Hawkeye.
Yeah, that's who it is, right? Yeah. Underworld film, Kate Blanchett, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
There's a romance that they try to like force into it, and maybe she's a good actress in other things.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I can't
Oh
even think of
man.
anything else I've seen
If
her
you
in.
want to see the worst of the 2000s, anyone listening to this, please go watch Underworld. And like, if you can watch that without cringing, you must have been like 15 in mid 2000s. You must have been like right there. You must have been Linkin Park, crying in the rain, listening to The Used and My Chemical Romance. Like,
Yeah.
those were formative years for you. But there's something wrong with you if you think Underworld is a good movie. I'm sorry. You can like it because it's bad. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love it because of how just fucking bad it is. But I'm always blown away every 5 years when I revisit it. It's so much worse than I remember.
That's a thing
And
that
that's what nostalgia does.
that's a
You
thing that
revisit it and you're like, this isn't good. Or
I did
sorry, other people have the opposite effect, I guess.
I did something similar recently. I watched the movie, the 1990 alien comedy Spaced Invaders, because I used to fucking love the movie when I was like 5. And
Spaced Invaders.
uh, I would say like go and check it out, but no, it actually was like I would watch the movie on repeat when I was like 5, 6 years old. I loved the movie. I went back and revisited it recently, and it was well, let's just say not everything you like when you were 6 years old is actually good. I had no felt
I've never
no
seen this, man.
I felt no sense of nostalgia for it whatsoever watching it. I'm just like, this is a shockingly bad film. It's
I've
us.
never even heard of this.
It's astounding how bad it is. It, people don't watch Spaced Invaders. It's not worth your time.
How have I not even heard of this? You know the Mandela effect?
Mm, yeah,
This
yeah.
is the opposite of the Mandela effect. I feel like every bone in my body should know this movie exists, but it's like this was invented just now, inserted into reality just now, but the programmer, God, the creator, or whatever you want to call it, forgot to give me the memory of this movie. Like, how did I not know this existed? I guess because it's really fucking bad. That's why.
So to get back to 2000,
it's like Rocket Man. When I was a kid, I was like, haha, that was great. No. You heard
Rocket
of that
Man?
movie? With fucking the comedy.
You're talking about The Rocketeer?
No, which I would argue holds some merit.
Yeah, no. I've never actually seen The Rocketeer, but that movie actually has a very good reputation.
Search Disney's Rocket Man.
All right,
with fucking what's his name? Not like the movie about Elton John, but
oh, I never saw this movie. I recognized that cover right away. This was a movie I saw in video stores when I was a kid, and didn't rent it.
Man, that's my version of Spaced Invaders.
Yeah.
Like, I watched it with my cousins when we were like 12-ish or like whatever, and we were like, haha, that's great. No, dog. Oh, what's the actor's name? Harland Williams? Is that William Sadler? Who's... I can't remember. Harland Williams, that's the actor, right? He was hot shit at that time. Not like super hot shit, but like more of a 90s guy.
I didn't recognize him.
He was like semi-popular.
When we were... So to get back to 2000s nostalgia, so I was thinking about it just now. So in Hollywood anyway, the first half of the decade was very much influenced by The Matrix. The latter half of the decade was very much influenced by like The Bourne Identity and like the films of Michael Bay. With that like very like
Transformers,
that very like shaky cam,
found
like,
footage action.
Yeah, that very like handy cam, like shaky, like quick cut action sequences. And I've talked about it before, but very grainy, like very like white light cinematography.
Oh, right. That purposefully grainy, yeah.
Yeah. That was Hollywood in the 2000s in a nutshell right there. So going back to Daredevil though, that movie's bad. And that movie's even worse than I remember it being. And it took me back to 2003. And so I'm going to say this about nostalgia. The Daredevil movie took me back to 2003 and reminded me why I'm glad it's not 2003 anymore.
Dark days.
Yeah.
Because you would have been grade 12 graduating.
I was 18 in 2003.
Yeah, I would have been moving to the island.
I was living in Swift Current, Saskatchewan at the time.
Oof.
Yeah, oof, indeed. I've got so many stories relating to my time in Swift Current though. Some friggin' wild ones that I have gone into some of them on Patreon preambles before, but I'm not really going to get into any of it on air. On like,
basically, it's just like the hit comedy TV show Corner Gas.
Yeah. We'll go with that. Anyway, so I think that's about time to wrap up now. So we're going to be, as I mentioned, we're going to be dedicating the month of October to horror-themed TV shows, and we're going to be starting with the 1980 British anthology series Hammer: House of Horror, which lasted...
Name a more iconic horror show.
Yeah, Hammer Films has quite the big following amongst horror fans. So And I've never actually seen the show Hammer House of Horror, so
Same.
I'm interested to get into it. So to figure out what we're gonna watch, I'm going to hit screen share.
Don't you dare. He's daring.
Who dares wins. Oh, apparently I can screen share to my iPhone now. My
Insane.
iPhone. My iPhone.
Your iPhone.
It's a subtle reference to the movie I Love You, Man. One of my favorite. Actually, probably my favorite comedy of all time at this point.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I don't think you've mentioned a comedy more than
2009's I Love You, Man. I genuinely love that movie. It's an extremely formulaic buddy film. It follows all of the beats of a buddy movie. Don't care. It does it perfectly.
And that's the thing. Sometimes it's kind of like been trying to get my partner to watch the OG Predator with me.
Right.
And it on paper you're like, oh, do I really want to watch this or whatever? But like it does exactly what it's trying to do, like perfectly.
Yeah. Big fan of that movie. Big fan of that franchise. Really liked that new installment, Prey. Although I've heard rumors that Cal was not a fan of it.
I have a lot to say about that movie. That's all I'm gonna say.
All right, so Hammer House of Horror lasted 13 episodes. So
I've got my Murdoch shades.
Oh, there you go. One random numbers between 1 and 13, and here we go. Where it stops.
Lucky number 13. I thought I called it for a second, and then it flipped over.
And then it flipped one more. Yeah, it's like when you're watching Wheel of Fortune, and it's like on like 1 million or something like that, and then it just edges over into bankruptcy.
Yeah.
So episode 11 is Visitor from the Grave. A psychologically fragile woman accidentally kills an intruder who is about to hurt her. Her boyfriend buries the body in the woods, but she continues to see the man in various places. This leads her to seek help from a psychic. Worse is to follow as she becomes the victim of a macabre plot. Wow.
A macabre plot?
That's
deep.
That's quite the series of unfortunate events. Anyway, we'll be back very soon, actually, within the next couple days after this goes live with episode 49 of the LAZOR podcast. And until then, I've been one of your hosts, The Siege.
And I'm your other host, Neo Cal. I mean Morpheus Cal.
Morpheus Cal. You can tell I haven't done this in a while now because I forgot. If you want to support the show, go to patreon.com/lazorcomb, LAZORCOMB. We're at the single $5 tier. You get to pick a show for us to review a random episode of on this podcast. Our next Patreon theme month is going to be next month, by the way, the month of November.
So just give us $5 for November and then dip.
I've always expected people to do that, but no one's actually done that so far.
Yeah. How dare you be patient and enjoy us for what we present and ask of us nothing, you monsters.
Yes, and shout out to all the patrons that we have over at patreon.com/lazorcomb. Our content output in the month of September was probably the lowest it's ever been. And, well, no one complained. No one unsubscribed either.
We got a lot of life lemons in September.
We got a lot of life lemons, and we made death lemonade.
Lemonade for the dead.
Or at least I did, anyway. Follow me on Twitter at LAZORcomb, spelled the same way. And Cal, you are at?
I'm at NeoCal, NEO_KAL on Twitter.
Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.
Stop trying to hit me and subscribe.
Take a trip to another dimension.